Hi everyone, since you already learned what functions are, the next logical step for me is to explain you how to create classes and methods in Python. So object orientation is one of the most important programming concepts, and we're going to talk exactly about this today. So let's create a new file, Python file, and let's call this file dog. And here we'll create a class that basically generates dogs. Class, guys, is a blueprint of an object. So a class could be dog, and then we can create different dogs named Jack, Buddy, and so on. We can create a class human, from which we'll get different humans, and we can name them, right? So let's say all the humans and all the dogs, they have the same type of attributes. Let's say all the dogs, they have a breed, they have 4 legs, they are barking, and so on. And in the same way for humans. So why creating all those attributes separately for each human and each dog if we can create a blueprint? So let's create a class and let's name this class dog. Classes in Python are always named with the caps, with capital letter, right? So when you create a class, the very first method inside, so you know we define method as def, is usually the constructor, and the constructor in Python is marked with the init. Here is init, right? So this means that when we create a dog, what are the attributes that we want every dog to have instantly? So obviously one of the attributes that we would like a dog to have is a name. So let's add name here, and we can say self.name is equal to name, right? So what that means? This means that the name that we're passing from outside to this class is assigned to this variable, while self.name is the current name inside the class, right? So for example, I can change the name of this variable here as name1 and name1, and this means that the name that we pass would be equal to the name inside the class. Okay, so everywhere where we state self.name, this would refer to the current name that was taken from the calling of this class. So let's say that every dog has different tricks, right? Every dog could know a number of tricks. So let's say if we want to create a dog, and also to this dog we want to assign the number of tricks that the dog knows, we can also do self.tricks could be equal to an empty list. And why here we don't need to write anything in the call of this method is because we want to assign the tricks to an empty list and then increment or increase what's inside this empty list depending on the new tricks that the dog knows. And bear with me, this would really make sense in a second. So in order for the dog to learn new tricks, we need to create a function for the dog to learn new tricks, right? So let's create def learn trick, and here we'll pass the trick variable a, and we'll do self.tricks, this variable here, which is a list dot append, and we're gonna append the trick that we want to add, right? So this is our class. Now let's see how this class is basically working. Let's say I want to create a new dog. So let's say d or dog1 is equal to dog, and we need to pass name to that dog, right here. So let's call it Buddy, right? So in order to prove that there is actually a dog created, let's do print dog.name. Okay, so dog.name should give us the name of the dog that we just created. Actually, this runs our previous function, so let's close it and let's run the dog, and you can see that the name of the dog is Buddy. So now we have a new dog. If you, for example, print dog1, you're going to get this object here, which means that an object dog has been created, or an instance of this object dog. Actually, this number here is the exact location in the memory where our dog is located. Nice. So let's see how we can teach our dog some tricks. For example, I can do dog1 dot learn trick, and then you can pass the name of the trick that you want your dog to learn. So let's do row over. Okay, let's add another trick. So let's do dog1 dot learn trick play dead. Okay, so now let's see all the tricks that the dog already know, which should be row over and play dead, and you can do that quite simple. So let's do dog1 dot tricks, and actually I need to write dog1 dot tricks in order to make sure that those tricks belong specifically to dog1. This is because I can also create dog2, and this could also be a dog, but it could have different name. So let's say the name Teddy, right? So now the dog Teddy would not know any tricks because we didn't assign any, but the dog Buddy will actually know 2 tricks. So let's test that out. Let's do the tricks and let's actually print that. So let's do print dog1 dog1.tricks. And let's see what tricks dog1 knows. Well, our dog now knows how to roll over and to play that. On the other side, if we want to print the tricks of dog2, right, then you will see that here we have an empty list because we didn't assign any tricks to dog2. If I do here dog2 learn play that, and if I now run the code, you see that our dog2 now knows how to play that. So you can also add certain attributes, specific attributes to every class. For example, if all of your dogs are located on west, you can do location equals west. So this means that every dog that is created would have location west. And you can check that by simply printing, let's say dog2.location, okay, you see west, and this would be the same for dog1. You can of course also change this location. So if you want to do dog1.location equals east, after that if you want to print dog1.location, you would actually get east, right? Makes sense. So this is how you're creating a class, guys, and this is how you can create different attributes in those classes. So that was all I wanted to share with you for today. Thanks for watching, and in the next video we'll talk about imports and class inheritance. Thanks for watching. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the course. Now, one of the most confusing topics when using Python is how to deal with the modules and the packages. What are actually modules and packages in Python? And I think many people are thinking that those two concepts are very complicated, but they are actually not. And here is how it works. You see these files that we have on the left? Those are modules. In Python, those files are called modules. So module is a single file that has certain functions and variables. So those functions and variables, they can be used. So you use this module. Let's say if you want to use the module dog, we can import it in some other file and use the class dog there and all the functions that we just wrote. So what's a package? A package is a combination of many modules. For example, our project that is called calculator has control flow, dog functions, and test1 files or test1 module. And so if I want to import the calculator to some other Python file, then this will be the package. Package is a group of modules. Very simple. You also might know that sometimes we're importing in external packages. For example, if I just want to import something randomly, let's say import dist units. This is some random package that somebody created and it represents exactly the same thing. So if I select control and I click it, you see that this is simply another file that has certain attributes, right? So this is another module. And so everyone that is creating those libraries, those external libraries, is basically creating different Python files combined in a package that can be reused by anyone. For example, some of the most famous Python packages are, let's say, Flask, right? So if I go into Flask, you see one huge initialization file, which is basically the header file of the Flask package. And inside the Flask package, you would have many different files with functions or modules, right? So for example, here I selected this Flask class and it sends me to the class app.py from where I can use that class here, right? So again, the external packages are just a normal Python files with some advanced code that you can reuse, just as the one that you made. So you can either import your local packages or you can use external ones. For example, if I do import functions, then I'm importing this file right here, okay? So if later on I do functions dot, and you can see this function okvar or ask OK, which is part of the function. So I can simply access this function here by importing the module functions and then writing dot and then the name of the specific function that I can use. So you can use functions, attributes, basically everything that you have defined in the file that you're importing. If you, however, don't want to use this function dot thing, you can simply write from functions import ask OK. So I don't need to write this and I can simply use the ask OK as it is. Okay, when I run the code, it would go to functions, it would assess the ask OK, and it will send it right to my file. So the imports work in the same way no matter whether you use external or internal imports. And since you know that already, here it comes the topic for class inheritance. Now normally in Python you can inherit a class, which means that you use one class into another one and import all of its methods. And normally this is done by creating the other class in another file, or you can do it in the same file as well. I'll first do it in the same file and then I'll show you how you can do it in a separate file. So if I create this, let's say another class called Labrador, which is a breed of dog, then it makes sense that the class Labrador pretty much have the same initialization and basically the same methods as a class of a dog, because Labrador is dog. So in that case, dog would be the base class, while the Labrador would be the derived class. And you can simply write here into the brackets dog, and here is how Labrador just imported all the methods from doc. So if I don't want to update any of those methods here, I can simply write pass, and this means that every time when I create a Labrador, it will basically have the same variables as the dog, right? So let's say if dog1 is actually a Labrador, okay, and then if you want to print dog1, you would print the same object here, and then when you check for the dog1 location, you would get west, as you can see here. So we don't get any errors for the only reason that we pass dog to Labrador. If we remove that, however, and run the code, you can see that we have many errors because Labrador has no arguments, right? And it didn't import anything from the dog class. Of course, you can also create another file. So let's do new Python file and let's call this Labrador. And I can simply copy this class right here, okay? And you can see that the dog is not recognized, and this is because we need to import it. So let's do from dog import dog. And you can see that now this is completely recognized and ready to use. So if I create dog5 equals Labrador, and let's write the name Jack, and then let's print dog5 dot name, and let's run the Labrador file, you can see that we're running not only the code here, but also the code in the doc.py, right? So let's say if I disable this here and I rerun it, you would see the name Jack, which means that the class was successfully inherited and imported into another file. So I hope, guys, that this video really answered a lot of questions about imports, packages, modules, inheritance, and so on. This is a very important and easy topic actually to understand if explained well. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and in the next video we'll talk about how you can handle errors in Python.